Maybe while people are arriving. Um, or maybe that's not a good idea. I was gonna suggest we could start with the development update, but um, I don't know. Does anyone have questions yet? Shall we get things rolling if someone wants to step up?
There's a few. Well, there's one, I guess.
You have some text questions, I guess?
Yeah, there's one from last time which we didn't get to cover.
Okay.
It involves this server though. I'll just read the whole thing out.
Yep.
The context for this question is a couple of years ago, the person who asked the question only got access to the OSDev server because they were talking with a GMT at the time who invited them personally to the server. The question is regarding the problems of threads, which came up last week in terms of like getting people involved. The main issue that the person asking the question feels is that the server is behind a manual verification phase. Is there anyone dedicated behind handling those, or is there a way to automate it in the future?
Um, I check them every day. I know other people do because half the time when I go there, people have already been verified. So I don't think we have any problems there. Um, on top of that, you can participate in these meetings on the server without verification. So yeah, I don't see that as a bottleneck right now.
Also, the context of that was the PP discussion.
Right, right, okay.
So, and that server is even more like free and not requiring verification. They can talk in the public channels and stuff.
I
But we
think they
haven't
have
like,
some level of verification, but it's only for certain channels.
yeah, exactly. And we haven't like posted that channel anywhere in our difficulty channels yet.
We haven't. No, I've been figuring that out. I know it's on my list of
Been
things.
waiting for you, yeah.
Yeah. Do we just like nuke the existing channels or drop a
I was
link in
thinking just
them
make
and
them read only.
oh, you can archive channels, can't you? Or read only, yeah. So just remove permissions.
Yeah. Maybe
Easiest
we
way to
can
do it,
post
guys.
like schedules or whatever, maybe there or something. I don't know. If we ever find a
Yeah.
use for them.
Yeah. And also maybe just post like major things in there, like links to PRs or whatever, just so people that don't want to follow on the other server can just check those channels occasionally, I guess. I don't know. Any other text questions?
Yeah, a couple. We've got another one. This one's from A-Breaker. When can we expect splitting the modding queue subforums by game mode to happen? You assigned this to me as an issue. I'm not really sure why you assign it to me because there's nothing I can really do on that front other than tell you that yeah, people have wanted this for like forever.
Um, yeah, we can do it. I assigned it to you to get to make sure that was an agreeable direction that we want to go. I think I mentioned that somewhere, but yeah, I don't have an issue with splitting forums. I don't think
The modding queue forums, no, that should be fine.
we can look at doing that today. I guess it would just be making the new forums, and people would manually move queues across.
Yeah, the GMT can handle that in like half an hour or something between them.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so to answer that question, when can we expect this to happen? Today. Hooray.
Yes.
All right, we got another one. Uberfaz asked a month ago, but it never got answered. What is the status on being able to upload to other sets through the BSS as a guest difficulty owner? I remember that was being talked about. So guest difficulties, basically. When's that happening?
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of a it's a larger task than I expected it to be. I think I touched on that in a previous meeting, but to for that to happen, either I am going to have to be free, as in have no other tasks which are more important, or we're going to have to have switched to a newer version of beatmap submission, which is going to be used for laser. One of those two things, whichever comes first. The demand for that is quite low, which is why I haven't prioritized it. So if more people want it, just keep shouting, I guess. And
I think they do want it.
no, yeah, I mean, the point is that There's well, right now I'm kind of like 100% saturated with the ongoing work for from an infrastructure side, the score storage, and from a laser side with the realm migration. So nothing's going to happen until those two major tasks are completed, and that's probably going to take until the end of the year. So I'd say if we do start to look at that, it would be early next year.
So 2022 thing. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. On the subject of that, someone is asking, how is the realm migration going?
Oh, it's going a bit up and down. I don't know how many have been watching my progress on Twitch, but it's been like every day for the last month or two. And it's not about implementing Realm. That part is actually quite easy. It's about getting everything in place to a code quality and an organizational level where I feel confident with moving forward. And progress is good. I just on Friday I finished, and this I was going to talk about this in the development update section, but I guess I can do it here. I got skins completely migrated to Realm on Friday. I was looking at doing beat maps initially, but the hard part of beat maps is that they tie in with rule sets, they tie in with scores, and those are other database classes. So it makes it very hard to migrate only beat maps because having scores still in entity framework, the previous database engine we were using, means that you need to like have hacks in place to link them together. So yeah, and because we're like migrating across all the local handling logic we have for like deleting models, deleting database models, deleting files from the models, replacing files, all these operations, they weren't yet supported by the existing work I did for beat maps. So I did get beatmap import working with Realm about 4 or 5 months ago. And that hasn't been pushed out to a production build yet, but the work I did for that covered importing not just beatmaps but any other kind of file, because we kind of had this management system which will handle skins and scores using that same underlying logic. But yeah, it was missing the file operations and deletion operations and notification event flow, so we can show like UI notifications during the import process and stuff. I finished adding that for the skins work I did this last week, and that can be reused for the beatmaps and scores. So it's, yeah, long story short, I do think it will be completed and pushed out this year, optimistically within the next week, but who knows what will come up in that time. And to make it work, I'm kind of not worrying too much about optimization. There's a lot of different places where Realm has overheads. Like in Entity Framework, everything was pulled into memory at the point you query it. So things like my testing scenario in the last week was using a skin with 1,400 files, which is a bit on the upper end of what you'd expect from a skin, but that was good for yeah, performance profiling. And with Realm, because it's like fetch everything on the fly dynamically, querying the files for a skin when we're like when going into gameplay and loading a heap of hit objects, each time a hit object loads, it does a few queries on files to check if skinning is available, and that actually got pretty slow. So cases like that, I'm not worried too much about. I did some initial optimizations, and now it's like only maybe 50% slower than it used to be. It's manageable, probably still faster than stable. But yeah, the goal is to get everything working without worrying too much about performance, and then fixing that after. So yeah, that was a long answer, but no, almost there.
Just for sanity's sake, for the people who might not be following, what exactly is the realm migration and why is it important?
So, starting from the beginning, in Ostable, Ostable uses its own proprietary database format, which is just like a binary lump. Um, and it has like separate files for scores and beatmaps and all that. It's all a bit of a mess and hard to keep track of, hard to migrate, hard to add new data to if we wanted to, or like change existing data. So with Laser, we look to solve that by initially using SQLite or SQLite via Entity Framework, which is a .NET, first class database ORM. And initially it looked pretty good, but over the development of Laser, we found a lot of issues with using Entity Framework, specifically for our use case, where Entity Framework is kind of built to be used in a web application where lifetimes of objects are quite limited. Like you're not persisting a user object for potentially hours at a time. You're querying stuff, using it, serving the request to the user, and throwing it away. So that's kind of where Entity Framework excels. And over the recent versions, they've brought back the features which are required for the use cases which we need, where we are persisting over a longer period. But even considering that, Entity Framework doesn't have a lot of safeties in place to make sure you're using it in the right way. And because of that, we kind of weren't. We were passing objects between threads, and that was the main issue that caused a lot of bugs across the game. Where, for instance, there's a new feature which allows creating a new difficulty in the editor for beatmaps. And occasionally, when creating that new difficulty and then exiting back out to song select, the beatmap would temporarily disappear from song select. It wouldn't actually be lost, but you would have to go back out to the main menu and do a re-query. Like edge cases like that, where the behavior just does weird things, and it's obviously not Entity Framework's fault. It's the way we're using it, but yeah, TLDR, we weren't really happy with the stringency, the robustness of the EF as a whole. So Realm kind of cuts back what is available in terms of threading. Like it's very limited. You need to have a context per thread. You can't pass objects between threads. It only allows one write operation at a time, but in turn it has like full ACID. It's a database engine which has full like ACID support, and it's made for desktop first or mobile first. So it has a lot of more it's more geared to what we're doing with the data. And yeah, so the main reason that it's taken this long to implement Realm is getting our usages in that robust form where we aren't passing data between threads haphazardly. Yeah, it's a lot of just cleanup to get things, in a state
In a
where,
proper state, right?
yeah,
Which is the
where we
entire
can
point of Laser.
where we can add new things, where we can actually add new data to the database. So, like one example is we're not currently caching difficulty values to the database because even though we want to, it's like adding that to the existing Entity Framework system just feels like we're going to introduce more bugs or cause more issues. So a lot of the remaining, and another one is like updating beatmaps at song select. All these little things which seem like why hasn't it been done yet? They're all pending on this work to actually get things in a really nice state so we can quickly iterate on data operations faster.
All right, can we move on from Realm? We spent like 10 minutes on this in
Yes,
the
go
community
through
meeting.
this.
Yeah, well, it's important because it's holding back a lot of laser work. But yeah, let's move on. Are there other questions?
There's a few more text ones. Do we have anyone willing to speak, or do we want to keep doing the text ones?
Can I do a spoken question of my own that people have passed on to me? So for tournaments, in most tournaments, the easy mod is allowed as part of the free mods. And they give it like a 0.8 or so around there multiplier, whereas currently I think it's 0.5 in Score V2. People are just asking if we can change that. Are you fine with changing that, Peppy?
Is this in laser?
And stable, Scorvy2.
Oh, I mean, up to you. Do whatever you want.
We could make a poll or something on Twitter.
Yeah, and unless there's a reason it has to stay the way it is, like Score V2 is only there for tournaments, so do whatever is required.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Let's take a voice question from Cinema. Names.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
I have a question about the follower count on the user profile page.
Yep.
A problem some people have is that you can see the number of followers, but you can't see who those followers are. And do you plan to address this in any way?
I don't think so. It's come up. A lot of people have asked for that, but I don't know if it's just me. Maybe Ephemeral and Smoogie can chime in, but I don't feel like it is a good direction to take us. Like it
No.
becomes more of like a social network and like a cloud thing, and people constantly watching their follower lists. I've seen it happen on Twitter, and I don't really want to go that far. Like having the count was kind of like my as far as I'm willing to take that.
Wouldn't it be better to just hide the follower count and then?
Or maybe if people don't want it anymore, we can remove it. That was added because again, people wanted to see their follower list, and that was like the negotiated extent of implementation. Ephemeral, got anything to say?
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with the whole people doing it to chase clout thing. But to some extent, they're going to do that with the number anyway. So it's like,
Yeah, but the other thing is like it's like people are going to start stalking followers, or like I don't know.
You could just show the amount of mutuals instead. As a suggestion, I guess.
And
Right. Thanks for answering.
yeah, mutuals could work. I think the other thing is that a lot of the following stuff we're introducing as like, subscribing to mappers is already in there, right?
that's in the thing, I think. Yeah, I don't think it's part of the count, though, if that's what you mean.
No, but I'm saying we've moved out a lot of the functionality that people would potentially want to see in that. We could like show how many people are following a mapper and then remove the actual follower, the friend count thing altogether, because it's not as important for friend counts.
It is for players, though, I think. Like for some of the top players, it might be a thing that they'll be upset at losing.
Yeah, potentially. We would have to poll this and figure out what people want.
Yeah.
Well, that's the question I had. Thank you for answering.
Question.
No worries.
Yeah. Thank you.
The Matius. Or maybe Edgar Figaro. Edgar Figaro.
Well, neither of them, apparently.
Or maybe no one at all. Do we have any more text questions?
We do.
Oh, hey, sorry, I didn't see the thing at the top.
Yo.
Just in time.
So it's kind of along the same line as like the thing with the mutual count and whatnot. But another thing is the replays watched by others. One thing I know a lot of people have asked about is if there's any way we could see what beat maps replays people are watching. Like we could see, 10 people have watched my replay of this or whatnot.
Yeah. Would you see that as being like a most watched replays list?
Or something like that. So see like which replays are getting the watches.
Yeah. So we do store that data. I think. Let me just check that. I'm pretty sure we saw that data, and if so, I am 99% sure that there's a feature request for that already, because it seems like something that makes
What data?
makes sense. Replays watched per beatmap per user.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one you definitely wouldn't know off the top of your head. Replays watched. Connection refused. That's not what I wanted to see. Huh. Okay, it's not stored right now, so we wouldn't be able to do that historically. We're currently only we're storing how many replays we watch per month per user, but that's the extent right now.
Right, which you can already tell that from the graph on your profile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so we would have to start storing more data for that, but it is feasible if it's something people want to see.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe it would make most sense to have like replays watched in the last month or something, because then we wouldn't have to store, permanent data. Might be more useful to see as well, because like when you use permanent data, it's just gonna eventually become stagnant. Cool. Want to throw a text question up?
Sure. We have one from Zelda101 who asks, is there any work being done on improving beatmap import speed? It took him 2 entire days to import all of his maps from stable to laser, though note he has an unreasonable amount of maps, roughly around 110,000 difficulties.
Yeah. Okay, so the
First
work
of all, have you tried it in the last recent while?
He
Because
has
we've
not
already.
tried it he's tried it in the last month. That's all he says.
Yeah, but Smoogie, that was only for existing maps, right? That was the
Right.
so there's two things I'll mention here. One is that with the realm work I'm doing, I definitely look to improve that. I can tell you that from the database side of things, it's already faster, but the file operation side of things, because I implemented realm in the simplest way possible, it's actually missing a few of the checks which make things faster. So I think at the end of the day, with the realm changes, it's probably going to be maybe 50 to 60% faster, which is not that much. But there's another thing, which is that when we finally get to the point of having people switching over from stable to laser, there's a little trick we can use to avoid copying files from one client to the other. And I already have a branch where that's kind of implemented. It's using junctions to reference the same file rather than doing a full file copy, and that will make imports basically super fast, like 100 times faster. So that is probably what we'll do in the end. It allows people to quickly import to laser, give it a try, and see if they're ready to move over. The downside of that is that if a file gets edited in stable after doing that process, it can potentially be in a slightly corrupted state in laser. So to account for that, we would need to add a consistency check on reading the file at laser's end. But I think that's worth it. I think the actual import overhead reduction is going to be huge for most users. So yes, there is a path forward there.
Sweet. And do another next one, or
Let's just invite these guys to speak and see if anyone. Blendra.
Hello.
Hey.
hi.
So for laser, I believe how it works when you are sorting beat maps, when you're looking at your beat map collection, is that difficulties beat maps when sorted by difficulty are organized by the top difficulty maps, but in stable they're separated from their beat map sets.
Yep.
Right. A few people I know, and myself included, we like to see the beat maps apart from their beat map sets. So if there's a lower map in a map set that's 4 stars,
yeah,
it'll be separated and you'll be able to see that when you're sorting by difficulty.
Yeah, the
Is
main
there,
reason
Go ahead.
we haven't done that yet is because it's a bit of a The way Stable does it is it changes the complete display. Like Stable's beatmap song select carousel is a bit weird. Like when there's only one difficulty, it displays differently from when there's a group. So well, I personally didn't want to do that same structure in Laser, which is why it hasn't been implemented yet. We're still working on the design portion and the user experience, how that's gonna play out. But I mean, we're aware that it's a very important thing, and a lot of people want it. So,
Oh.
yeah, it's definitely something you'll see come back.
Yeah, we actually didn't have a design until very recently.
Yeah, I think Flight's got something now, right?
Yeah, like from 2 months ago or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that
that's really good to hear.
the whole bitmap carousel is getting a design refresh as well. So we've kind of been putting things off till that was ready to go because it doesn't make sense to add difficulty grouping changes to the existing design when we're going to redo the whole design anyway. It's probably going to add extra work.
Well, that answers my question. I'll spread the word. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thematius. No? He ran away. Got stage fright.
The text one then.
Sounds quick. I
Hi,
just
Ben.
invited. Hey.
Hey. Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me well?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I can hear you.
Oh, low. Okay. Okay. I have a question about API v2. Is there any possibilities for a GraphQL endpoint, given the amount of information API v2 provides?
So there is an open issue for GraphQL.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a current priority. It's probably something that an external contributor could pick up and implement. Because if it's done correctly, it's just going to be using our existing API implementations, the models and the permissions and stuff, and giving access to them, or being able to traverse them. So yeah, it's something I would definitely like to see, and I can understand why it's super useful with the amount of data we have and the structuring of the data where you sometimes only care about something nested quite deep. So yeah, I'd see it happening, but it's not on our immediate priorities.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then, like, another question I have is, what's the progress on the notification WebSocket endpoint? Is that a low priority, or it seems like something on the immediate
Is
radar?
that you mean for chat?
No, for the I believe it's beatmap notifications, but it also seemed like at one point it was also for like how the old website had a event like
So
stream
you're talking about
for the
consuming this
replacement.
as an API endpoint?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. So we already have. I mean, everything's using WebSockets in terms of the client, the website, and Laser needs to use WebSockets as well. So the endpoints already exist, but we need to expose them under like the API side of things. Yeah, it's not ongoing work, but it does need to happen. Currently, there is work being done on converting chat to use WebSockets. So I would probably see anything API side as being post that, because that's also causing quite a bit of refactor efforts on the notification server, since it's using the same server for the WebSocket handling.
Understood. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Avoided seeing it.
We got some text ones. We got one from Mir, if we want to take that.
Yep, go for it.
Mir is asking, when can we expect to be able to see the new star rating calculation on the stable client? For mappers, it has become very difficult to properly fill spread requirements without being able to see real-time star rating updates, especially for guest difficulties where you just can't upload the check.
That's a
If you
good
need-
question.
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, it's kind of a critical issue in some regards because spread is really important, and they literally have to upload to see it, or drag it into drag it into laser, or use their command line OS tools or something. Maybe it might be worth doing something with like AI mod to show that if it's not possible to fix it some other way.
Yeah, I'm not coming up with anything. Laser would be maybe my recommendation. Especially if you're able to do your full mapping on laser and just import it back to stable for any touch-ups or any upload stuff. The laser editor is in a pretty good state for doing most things these days.
Yeah, and I was mentioning the meeting channel as well. The OS tools could be used.
Yeah. If
CLI, yeah.
if you are mapping with like where difficulty is that important. See, the other thing is that the star rating doesn't in the majority of cases it doesn't change that much. So I don't see it as a potentially critical issue for the majority of users. It's just like for the edge cases for the really high star rating where it is at changing by like 2 stars potentially.
I think even small changes of like 0.3 to 0.5 can sometimes impact spread in terms
Yeah.
of adhering to the RC. So it is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, one would hope you weren't mapping for the sake of spread in the first place. Like those ranges aren't intended to be like getting 0.01 in the range. But hey,
Yeah, it does factor in though. We've had spread rules for like 6 years now, 7 years.
yeah. But as for actually getting the calculation in stable, I don't really see that happening. Like maybe we can for people that want it, we can have stable query. Like if laser is installed on the same PC, we could do the calculations via that, right?
Yeah,
It might be something that we can quickly implement, like just actually look for laser at its default install location and do a diff calc on it from the editor or from song select or wherever it's needed. The reason we don't want to like package an install of laser, which would be the easiest way to do it, is that laser doesn't run on the same systems that stable does. Like it's 64-bit only, and it doesn't run on Windows 7. So I mean, we could get around the Windows 7 one and the 32-bit one, but it's all overhead, which we're trying to avoid right now, trying to make faster forward progress. But if a user is willing to install laser alongside stable, then we can definitely make something happen there, I think. Probably in an hour or so. Might be a good thing to try out. Guess the only thing is we'd need to add a command line on laser to allow doing the diff calc.
I already have a thing for that.
Okay. Or I mean, we could just like we could easily just add a button in stable which downloads OS tools to the stable directory. And for users where that does work, they can OS can use it.
That sounds best, honestly.
Yeah,
Well,
I suppose so.
the thing about that is the download's going to be like 150 megabytes.
Yeah, I had a very trimmed it down thing.
Hmm.
But it was still pretty significant, like 100-ish megabytes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The least number of moving parts, especially with like inter-process stuff that we can add to stable, the better.
Yeah, I think that like looking for the laser installation is probably the better one because
Yeah,
it's like
that's
more.
one I can actually agree with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I can look at that like this weekend. The
Yeah.
remaining.
Maybe even just for the editor to start with.
Yeah.
Does the editor update the star rating in real time? It doesn't, does it? It needs.
I don't know actually.
I think you have to go back to song select, don't you, to
If
see
you
the.
have to go to song select, yeah. Or you can open it in edit screen, I think.
Yeah. Okay. We'll look into that. Smokey will maybe look into that.
Yeah. Even for players, I think that it would be like worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure. And we could make people install laser.
Yeah.
I just said that because I know someone's gonna mention that if we actually make this work.
Hmm.
Pervy just wants everyone to install laser on their PCs.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, you
Do we have
do.
any? What was that?
You do.
Arguable. I don't think it's in the state. I mean, if I wanted people to install it, I would have already put a fucking button on stable to be like, try this out. I don't think I'm not ready for that yet.
Fair enough. We got one more text question. Do we have anyone waiting or
No, go for it.
not? Okay. WoctorDho is asking, would you be willing to support more specific global leaderboards in addition to the current PP and score leaderboards for specific mods such as double time, easy, no mod, etc., or maybe like SS, silver SS leaderboards, mainly for
But the-
adding more goals and competition? I think this is asked a lot actually.
Yeah, for the mods, I mean, it's 100% yes. For is this for like overall leaderboards? Like that,
Yes,
not beat map level, but
global leaderboards.
oh, yeah, yeah. I don't know. There is a lot of requests for this stuff, but the other like there's a few angles you can take. One is that the more leaderboards we have, the more like diluted competition gets. Everyone's looking at a different place to the point, does it even matter anymore? That's one angle you can take. The other thing is like maybe we should be pushing to expose enough information via the API that people can create these leaderboards, using their own external sites or whatever. Also, there's the playlist system in Laser where you can potentially make a leaderboard for a specific mod or for an SS count or something, and just add like 1,000 maps to the playlist, and you have this like that was like one of the reasons for the playlist system is to allow that to happen. So if that is a solution, then or if that sounds like a solution, go give the laser playlist system a try and see if that fits the criteria. Because the other thing is like global stagnant leaderboards are something I've waged war against because they just don't seem like they don't seem fun after 10 years.
I think we've talked about holding like seasons in the past for school, haven't we? For like global leaderboard and shit.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
it's the
once-
whole push of the playlist system because if we were doing seasons, we would probably use the playlist system, and like that's meant to be flexible. We can throw criteria, win criteria, and also mod criteria or play criteria, and then a list of beat maps, and have it create this leaderboard. That's the goal there.
That sounds kind of what's being asked for then, I guess.
Yeah. And like that, the playlist system it's not super fleshed out yet. As people use it more and we figure out how people are using it, I think if people use it, that's the other thing. I think we'll see it evolve over time and become, something. Because like right now, I think there is they do display on OSWeb the results, but the results display is no, there is an overall leaderboard. Yeah, you can already get the overall leaderboard for a playlist room on OSWeb. It shows up as like a global leaderboard style display. So definitely give it a try.
Sounds like a good starting point, I guess. We haven't got anyone else putting their hand up, so we can keep doing text ones, I guess.
Yeah, if anyone's in the audience on Discord and wants to ask a question, it is that's what we have these for. So just raise your hand using that button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll add you into voice.
Or type in the third and I'll read it out for you.
Or that.
So we got, in the meantime, we've got one from Wieku. Can we expect to see multiple user endpoint be public? Or is it so heavy that it's suitable only for laser? We would love to be able to fetch avatar links with the ID that gets changed when a player changes their avatar for the top 50 of a map, but fetching 50 users separately seems straining on request.
Avatar changes for users.
Yeah, so like whenever one changes their avatar, presumably, because that happens a lot for some people. They change it like every other day. And I imagine people are making systems like scoreboards, like you're talking about earlier, where they're trying to populate avatars for people to use as thumbnails or whatever.
So that's talking about getting the latest avatar URL with the correct cache busting hash at the end, I guess, because that's the only thing that changes. The file name is the URL for the avatar is still the same. Yeah, it's another scenario where GraphQL could actually provide an answer. Like the main reason we're not providing the full user data in the leaderboard request is because it's just going to make the requests huge. I think there is already a minimal user which OSWeb may use for leaderboards. So, maybe a solution there is to add a flag to the leaderboard requests where you can be like include user data. I'd definitely create an issue on OSWeb regarding that usage. We may be able to, if what you're doing is reading directly, like I need to know more about what the usage is to really like figure out what the best direction is there.
I think they're in chat, so we'll just give them like 10 seconds to respond or something.
Well, yeah, they can just ask in the OSWeb channel then.
Okay, fair enough.
Venix has a voice question.
I think he's got a text question too. It might be the same one.
Might be.
We'll never know unless he gets in here. Phoenix!
Okay, I figured out.
Proud of you.
So, well, I wanted to ask basically the same I wrote as a text question. So, is there any future plans to let users link their OS accounts to their GitHub account so the contributions might show in the changelog with your actual OS username instead of some possibly random string in some of cases?
How do we do that right now?
You
I
have a
think
script for it. I remember you adding me to it years and years ago.
Well, it's not a script. There's a table in the database which handles that linking, but let me just quickly check. Because it depends on whether it's using GitHub email user ID to do the linking. Canonical
general,
ID, username, user ID.
In general, I think you could maybe benefit, since we do so much stuff on GitHub now as a community, generally speaking, like we have performance and we have OS, we have like OS Web and the wiki, all of that's on GitHub. It may be worth adding a profile field or some sort of way of actually like directly linking via GitHub API, so it's like all verified and shit. It may be worth looking into that.
Yeah, maybe. The
'Cause I
people are
think a
gonna
lot
like.
of people would do it. It would be a fairly significant chunk of people that are like active in the community that would link. I know I would for sure. There's probably tons of other people that would too.
Yeah, could be a good direction.
Because we're so internet with them now. They're basically like our forums, essentially.
Yeah. At the same time, yeah, no, it's all good. We just get a lot of people coming on GitHub and asking very low quality questions recently.
I mean, yeah, that's just a symptom of the scale of the platform at this point.
Yeah, but you can see that they've made their account and come straight on us like, my Laza, no start. That's all. No, nothing else in the post. But yeah, so to answer your question, Phoenix, we do have support for that already. And if you just send me an email from your GitHub email address, I guess, or your OS email address, some way I can verify that it's you with the account you want to link. I'll just do it on the fly. And anyone else that wants to do that like immediately, just send me an email and I'll link you up. But it would be good to add support for that going forward, I think, for sure.
It's worth an issue, you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's all from me for now. Thanks for answering.
Thank you. Here's one from Twitch chat. Will a test flight link be available soon? Yeah, potentially. We, thanks to Frenzy Byte, we finally got iOS back in a compiling state. So the remaining work that needs to be done is on my end now, which is setting up the build chain again and making sure that we can get builds out. I'm also in two minds about whether I want to do a test flight again or just push it to the App Store. But that's a issue for another day, I think. Because test flight is a pain in the ass. We hit the 10,000 user limit almost immediately. And dealing with, like, even if we have a test flight link active, so I stop getting like 50 emails a day about where's test flight, it fills up so fast that then people are like, when are you resetting test flight? So, I don't know. Maybe pushing to that. I wish there was a category on the App Store which was like early access, where we could be like, you cannot rate this app because it's not ready for your ratings yet. Because I know if we push it out in its current state, people are gonna say the stupidest shit in the ratings, and we'll get so much incoming support for the app, which I don't think we're ready to deal with yet. Like, while OS brackets laser does run pretty perfectly on mobile devices, the user experience is not there. Like the default UI sizing, the hitboxes on buttons, some of the the fact we don't have multi-touch on-screen controls for the gameplay yet. There's a lot of little pieces missing, which we do plan on having there before we would do like a quotation official release on mobile platforms. So it's a bit of a hard one, but at very least a test flight link or something will be coming back within the next couple of weeks.
Cool.
Wiku says in his program he displays a public leaderboard of a map and fetches all avatars during startup, and he would love to be able to cache those avatars with that hash in a link that API v2 returns.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another text one from Tagaran. Is there a roadmap anywhere for other game mode development such as Taiko Catch and Mania?
We don't really do roadmaps.
No, we're not really roadmap kind of community, are we?
Yeah, I will say that I moved our Instagant roadmap across to GitHub project. So if you're interested in seeing what is going on in the game client development, which, I mean, if we were doing work on a specific rule set, we probably would list it in there. But yeah, right now it's more of a general overall. Let me rephrase. We're focusing on like the overall structure and features of the client rather than per rule set.
Yes, let me just expand on the original question. Perhaps it's not meant to be enticing at the moment, but as a Mania player, I would love to be able to play on laser and have it feel comparable to stable at some point.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first question is like, what is missing from Lasers Mania, and like what you would like to see before you can switch to it 100%, because that's what we want. So
You took the words from my mouth. Basically, we need to know what makes it feel wrong for you, because every time someone's brought up something that doesn't match stable or doesn't match expectations, we've fixed it. So I think we're getting pretty close.
yeah, and Lasers Mania already has like a new feature,
Exactly.
quote unquote, which is removal of like that note lock for like quick simultaneous hold notes.
Oh, well, that's not the only. I was going to mention the color-based
That too,
timing-based coloring.
Yeah, that people have wanted for years. Yeah.
So to answer the question, no roadmap, but we do want feedback.
Yeah, so if you want to follow the roadmap of the game, I don't have a link handy. I don't have enough windows open.
The roadmap was posted in the meeting channel.
Oh, okay. It's in the meeting channel, wherever that is. How do I get to that? Do I just go to active threads?
Yeah.
Oh, community meetings. I don't know how to use threads.
Click the thread
Think
and
of them
then
as
in the
channels.
3 dot button, you can click join thread to like have it always there.
You
Ah.
can also just send a message in it and it'll count you as joined. as
Oh,
both
you have to
member.
join it. Okay, there we go. They used to auto join, didn't they? I swear the threads always showed up on the left previously. Now you have to actually join them. Okay, cool.
I think they do an internal because we set it that way.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
cool. The thing about snap coloring is that it effectively breaks skins. Yes, correct. You will need to make your skins to consider that. Oh, any more voice questions? Any more questions? Maybe we can actually end this meeting on time today.
My God.
So development update then. Let's if there are any more questions, we can bring them up afterwards. But as a development update, so the OS Web team has been working on the last part of WebSocket chat support, which is going to make chat on the website a lot better, and also allow us to implement it better in the OS client laser. There's also the start of an announcement type of chat message to allow for turning off the old web PM system, basically a message type which can be sent to multiple people and be used for things like tournament announcements where you want to notify a large group of players about something, but also you don't want to have them in a group channel where they're, it's intended to be like a one person messages many people thing. So that is in progress. I don't know what else is going on there. There's a lot of refactor work on web to... Oh yeah, that's the other thing, score pinning on profiles. There's a lot of refactoring of the user profile page to get that up to scratch so we can start adding some new features there. And the first new feature is going to be score pinning, where you can choose which scores you want to show on your profile. On the laser side of things, we just released a new update yesterday, which has a feature that Smoogie has been working on for the last few weeks, which is queue modes and multiplayer. I don't know if Smoogie wants to introduce them, but yeah, it's worth checking out. Smoogie says no.
I kind of want to keep it for the dev meeting. I don't know.
Okay.
Or the change logs. I don't know. I don't know like how much to go into because I don't want to keep like the meetings too dev focused for those that
Yeah.
aren't.
Well, TLDR, you can now do like host rotate as a built-in feature. And there's a few issues with it, and we're aware, and they're probably going to be fixed in the next release. So I haven't made a big deal about the release yesterday because I want to get the remaining fixes in before publicizing it on Twitter and stuff. Right now the queue looks a bit out of order, but it's kind of by design.
In the round robin mode. Yeah.
Yeah. Also had a few bugs yesterday. I was playing in a random room and there was a lot of chaos. But everyone was really positive and enjoying the system, so it's good to see.
Yeah, I was curious about one of the issues that you posted in the Oscillator channel. I might have to follow up on that one because it's
The one where
kinda
the
weird.
same one played twice? Because that was weird.
Yeah, something like that. I think there was one where it was like expired or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, and as I already spent too long talking about earlier on, I've been working on Realm, and progress there is pretty good. Skinning should be moved over to Realm in the next release, and the rest of the pieces should fall together within the next month. And I will be very glad to be finished with that so I can start making some proper forward progress again.
I've also done a little bit of work on porting OS scores high table to solo scores table. Hopefully we can get a lot more testing on that one before the end of the month.
Before shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
yeah. I was actually looking at starting to use your script to bring across scores. So
Okay.
it's going on.
I think that it's just gonna write performance for now. I'm not confident on getting like the new performance calculator up to par. So
Right.
yeah,
Cool.
I think it's just easiest to just like do the simple. And then figure out performance with the next release, whatever.
I think that's about it on the development side.
That it then? We've
Yeah,
got a
I'm
couple
just-
of hangover questions, but otherwise we'll be ending on time.
Are they good questions?
One's a follow-up from a previous question from Edgar Figueroa, if you remember.
Go on.
He has a small follow-up question to the question he asked earlier. Currently, the graph on our profile just shows all replays watched by others across all modes. Is there any way we could have the graph change when looking at different game modes to show the history of replays watched for a given game mode?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird cases like that where we are not storing data for each rule set. And I don't know when that's going to get resolved. It's one of those things that takes a lot of work and is, goes by the wayside because we have so many other things to get done. But yeah, I'm aware.
I also think Mango has a voice question, but he is.
Oh, it's just a bit of a fun question to end the meeting, possibly, if it's the last question. But who do you think is going to win tomorrow?
I thought I missed the grand final. Did I not?
No, that was
No, that was the losers.
Oh, so the
America.
Germany US was loser?
No.
South Korea
Germany and
was
South
loser.
Korea was the third place. Like they were fighting for who would get second and third, and now Germany won. So the last match will be Germany US. So who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, I've been so out of touch with this OWC that I was worried that I missed it, but I guess I haven't. What time is that for the people listening, and for me?
18 UTC.
So
Sunday.
16 hours from
6
now.
hours ago.
Yeah, 16 hours from now, and then possibly if there's a bracket reset, then it'll last like 3 hours or something. I don't know.
Can I just say, Germany knocked out Australia? That's my only thought.
What's that implying?
Up for interpretation.
I just wanted to win a banner for once. Why does it never happen?
I don't think I've ever got to win a banner either.
No, I mean, I always support the underdog, and the underdog never wins because of the fucking underdog.
I will be going for Germany.
Yeah, me too. It's Dustus's last OWC. I don't think there's any better story than him taking it home finally on his last one for retirement. That would just be.
I have nothing against US, but they've won so many times.
They're so good.
Yeah.
It's time for Germany to be good.
You have to consider the population, right? US is like the largest country in terms of players, so they do have the upper hand there.
On top of that, they do just have some monsters in general. It'd be fun though.
Yeah.
Smoogie? No additional thoughts? No Germany, US?
Nah, not really. I think that the US is probably a little bit weaker from what I've seen this year, but we'll see.
They're
All
normally
right,
pretty
thank
dominant.
you.
They're not as dominant, but I haven't like been watching like super closely, so we'll see.
I was told though that I think this is one of the very few OWCs we've ever had where there's been a tiebreaker in every stage. I believe.
Insane.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
Okay, well, let's end it roughly on time for once. Thanks to everyone for coming. Thanks for the good questions. We'll do this again in 2 weeks. So if you missed out or if something comes up in the next 2 weeks, come and ask us more things.
Do you know the meeting after that is technically on Christmas?
Yeah, we'll probably skip that one.
Yes, can we? That would be that'd be fucking fantastic.
I mean, I don't mind doing it, but I know others. We'll probably get a very small audience if we did do that, or maybe we wouldn't. Maybe we'd get a larger one than usual. Who knows?
Here's a fun one from the meeting channel. Collections and laser are going to be much less prone to corruption. Yes. This is exactly why we changed from using like stables flat file databases to entity framework, and now we're transitioning to Realm because it's not robust enough.
It's so we can blame others, right? If we have an issue, then it's Realm's fault. Because I cannot guarantee that we're not going to have issues along the way. I follow their bug tracker, and they do have a few, but nothing like major corruption, which we have seen in both stable and I think even in the laser collections implementation, we had a few issues there.
Just hope they're doing the file flushing thing correctly.
Yeah, that was a big one. I haven't heard of cases since that fix. That was a
There's
very
also-
weird one.
There's someone asking an off-topic question to end the thing. Which kind of pie do you like the most?
Me? I do
presumably
classic meat pies. It's the only pie.
Classic
Moogie.
meat for me too.
Yeah.
You're pretty
Ephemeral?
fucking weird. You don't like McDonald's apple pies?
What?
What?
They're fucking pies, bro.
It's not a
You're
fucking
Australian,
pie.
dude.
You think of like
An
4
apple
20
pie
meat
is an
pie.
apple pie.
Yeah, it's pie.
No.
Yeah.
It's in a fucking different shape. I would accept if you were talking like about a proper apple pie, which is in like a pie shape, but fucking McDonald's apple pies? That's like a.
Well, the McDonald's apple pie.
It's an apple
Pedestrian, but they're good.
pastry. You don't call that a pie.
Isn't
It
there like a
says
pizza
pie on
pie
the
in the
box.
US or something like that?
I mean, they can say it's a shit on the box. That doesn't make it a shit.
It's okay. You're allowed to be wrong sometimes, I suppose.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
let's
One last thing.
Oh my god.
It's one last thing. We
Go
should
on.
probably move these meetings to like a slightly more friendly time for EU because this is literally ass hour for EU.
Yeah, okay. Well, suggest a better time. I think we can move it forward a few hours and still catch the US crowd, right?
No, we'd lose most of them to maybe earlier, I think.
Isn't this like 5 p.m. US time?
Yeah. Or depending on where you are in the US, I guess. But it's in a good hour for US right now.
9 p.m. US.
3
7
a.m. for
PM
EU.
UTC.
So we would have to move it forward like 5 or 6 hours for EU, or move it back 3 hours.
Or we could do like a staggered, like 1 week.
Yeah.
US, 1 week EU.
I think moving it back would work fine. Work pretty well for US and EU, like 3 or 4 hours back.
Yeah.
Of course, that kind of fucks us up, but that's okay. Well, depending on, I think ephemerals usually wake at that hour anyway. I would just have to wake up a bit earlier, which is fine.
Back as in forward, right? As in like earlier?
Earlier.
Yeah.
Forward?
Oh, fuck my brain!
Back as in forward. Let's end the
get
meeting.
pie
there.
now, this. Oh my fucking god.
We'll, for the next meeting, we'll move the time. So for those that are interested, check the time before coming.
we can use Discord relative links now in the meeting channel as well. So if we do decide on
Yeah,
a date,
yep.
we can.
And
do
there's
that.
also Discord has event scheduling now, so yeah, we can actually plan it ahead of time and people can subscribe to it.
Just
Sweet.
let me know so I can update the calendar as well.
Yep. Cool. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thanks for coming.